Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of Top Dead Center. I'm your host, Scud Funyuns, and today we're going to talk about something that's been bothering me for quite a while now. And that is, what the hell has happened to the Simplicity tractors? Good God! I know, a bunch of you don't want to hear it, but I mean, come on, man. Since Briggs & Stratton has taken over Simplicity, everything just seems to be going downhill. There's not a whole lot of advancements in technology or features or nothing, but the prices just keep going up. I mean, this is getting to be ridiculous. And no, don't go accusing me of not being a Simplicity fan. I've got an old Simplicity landlord back in the 60s. We've got a Simplicity Legacy, the style before the new style, a 2004 model. And that machine is a hell of a lot better than these new Legacies are putting out. I mean, right there, that Legacy, that is a tractor that should compete with John Deere on their subcompact tractors, you know? Back in the mid-2000s, that Simplicity Legacy, it was right there with that John Deere X700 series tractor. Price-wise, quality-wise, attachment-wise, the whole 9 yards. Not anymore. Hell, you can't even get one of them with a diesel engine no more. Briggs & Stratton Vanguard EFI is pretty much all you can get in them. It's a pain in the ass to put the attachments on. You really can't run a mower deck and a loader on that tractor at the same time. And if you want to run a snowblower, you got to take the loader off and put another subframe on there for the snowblower. The PTO attachments for in the back, tough to get in there, tough to get the stuff hooked up because the way that roll bar is on the tractor. I mean, and then price-wise, they got this thing through the roof. You can buy a John Deere with a loader, mower deck, backhoe attachment. You know, they got package deals on that. Kubota, they got the smaller models now, cheaper priced than the Simplicity Legacy. Mahindra has come in and just kind of knocked Simplicity out of the game altogether. I mean, that Simplicity Legacy, it dropped way down there. It's not even a viable choice anymore for your top 5 subcompact tractors with a loader. And that's mainly due to the price and the engine combination. You look at the Simplicity lawn and garden tractors. Briggs & Stratton engines in every single one of them. Not a single Kohler or Kawasaki to be found. How are you going to compare one of them to a John Deere if you don't got a Kawasaki? How are you going to compare that to the Husqvarnas if you don't have a Kawasaki or a Kohler? You know? And then, I mean, yeah, I got some Briggs & Stratton engines that have held up pretty well, but I've been kind of leery over their horsepower ratings that they put on these things. I mean, yeah, gross horsepower, you're definitely not getting that kind of horsepower out of it, that's for sure. You're not even coming anywhere close. So where all this becomes really noticeable at is when you look at the Courier zero turns. I mean, come on. You can get them with a 23 or 25 horse Briggs & Stratton V-twin. You can also, this year, get them with a 21.5 horsepower Kawasaki V-twin. What's funny is, the 23 and 25 horse Briggs & Strattons have the same size displacement. They use the 23 horse in the smaller deck Couriers, and then they use the 25 for the 48s and the 52s. But if you get yourself one with a Kawasaki, it's going to be that 21.5 horsepower engine, whether you're getting one with a 42-inch deck or a 52-inch deck. And what else is funny about that is the Kawasaki 21.5 horsepower V-twin has a larger displacement than the 25 horsepower Briggs & Stratton V-twin. Why is that? Because the Kawasaki has got more actual horsepower and torque. It's a better engine. Using Briggs & Stratton engines in all these, they're pretty much just forcing them on you because they can't seem to sell them to any of the other manufacturers out there except for in their lower lines of stuff. Yeah, John Deere will use them Briggs & Stratton engines, but only in their cheap 100 series tractors like they sell at Lowe's and Home Depot. They don't use them in their good stuff like the X300s, 500s, 700s, or anything above that. You know, Briggs is just kind of falling out of favor. They make these V-twins with these high gross horsepower numbers on them, and they just don't have the torque to get the job done. You know, when you can take a 42-inch cut zero turn out there, and it's got a rated at 23 horsepower V-twin on there, that thing should be able to cut through some grass with a small deck like that. But when you've got that mower deck up the whole way and you're trying to cut through like 6-inch tall grass and that thing's bogging down and trying to shut off, no, come on, man. That just ain't gonna cut it. Literally, it ain't gonna cut it. You know, there's got to be something done about this. I hate to see Simplicity getting a bad reputation like this and falling behind all these other companies. For years, they were a good, viable option to John Deere, especially after International Harvester sold Cub Cadet to MTD and they started to cheapen them up. Here we go now. This is going to be the same thing with Simplicity if they don't make some changes soon and Briggs & Stratton doesn't do something to up the ante a little bit and make these machines a little bit more compatible with the modern market. I mean, that roller system on the back of the mower deck, that's been around since the 60s. If you can't find a better way to put stripes in your grass than with one of them rollers hanging off the back of the deck, come on, you really need to bring in some new engineers for this shit. This is ridiculous. Everybody else seems to be doing it. Everybody else has been able to get away with that for years. Hell, for decades now. Not having to use them rollers back there to put down some nice bold stripes. And speaking of the rollers in the back, how are you going to sell these things to commercial landscapers? You know, you talk about how great the stripes are because of these roller systems you got, but on your zero turns, if you get a 48-inch cut zero turn, it's got a roller on it all right on some of the models, but hell, it's only a 26-inch roller. So you're going to leave yourself about a 26-inch wide stripe with a 48-inch cut mower deck. What sense does that make? If you're a landscaper, you're not even going to look at this, because you want that stripe to match whatever the size cut is of your walk-behind mower, your stand-on unit, and whatever else you got in your fleet. You don't want to be leaving 26-inch stripes with a 48-inch cut, or 30-inch stripes with a 60-inch cut. That's ridiculous. What's the point in even having that roller on there if that's all the more it's going to do? Really? And on the tractors? Come on. It's time to do something about that roller on them tractor decks too. You can't even use the things as real tractors anymore for towing around a lawn cart and stuff like that in your lawn or working with it other than mowing the grass because that roller keeps getting hung up on stuff. It hangs down. If you got one of them like a Regent or something like that and you go to put the mower deck up, the roller goes down. You put the roller up, the mower deck goes down. So no matter what, you're driving through some stones or some heavy grass or some heavy weeds or over some tree roots, something's going to be dragging, something's going to be hitting, something's going to be getting torn up prematurely because of that. There's another way to do it. I'm not saying I know what it is, but I'm just saying if everybody else is getting away with it and they're not having to use them rollers hanging off the back of the deck, I mean, come on, you beat that horse to death since the 60s. Time to make a few changes, you know? And let's jump back to where I was talking about the commercial guys using these Simplicity zero turns. How are you going to compete with these other brands like John Deere, like Husqvarna, like Toro, like Exmark, like hell, even Gravely, like Skag? I mean, come on. You got nothing else to offer. Your warranties, have you looked at the warranties on these Simplicity mowers, on these zero turns? That Cobalt, your top of the line zero turn, that has a what? 3-year warranty, 4-year warranty, 500 hours. Seriously. Everybody else is doing 1,000, 1,500 hours. How long does it take a landscaper to rack up 500 hours on a zero turn? And then they're going to be out of warranty. I mean, that's just ridiculous. So, if you've already got that striping system on there, it doesn't do much good anyway. And now you got a crappy warranty compared to what everybody else in the business is offering. And then you got nothing to do with the fleet sale. You know, there's no way to package this stuff together. You got no stand-ons, so that's not an option. You don't have much in a walk-behind line. And then, what do you got for handheld? I mean, come on, John Deere, they got steel. Now, Husqvarna, they got a whole line of stuff. Toro, they got some good stuff. You know, what do you got? You got Snapper Pro. Who's going to buy a Snapper Pro and use that commercially? For real. You know? The last commercial guy using the Snapper Pro was Forrest Gump mowing that football field for the school. That's it. When have you seen somebody else out there using Snapper Pro weed eaters and chainsaws or anything like that? That's just ridiculous. This is why you're falling behind, Simplicity. Briggs and Stratton, you gotta do something about this. You gotta bring this company back before it's too late. Come on, there's still time to get this back on the line here, but you just gotta start, adding some new features or drop the prices or something. You got your same product you've been selling for years, just raise the price on it, but you're not giving anybody anything extra or anything new. You're actually giving them less. It ain't gonna fly that way. You can't get a locking differential. I mean, they got what they call it, the traction control. I mean, in a Regent, what are you getting when you buy a Regent? And then what are you getting when you step up to a Broadmoor for the extra money you're paying there? I mean, you look at the two of them, you're not getting a whole hell of a lot more for all that money you're spending. So, people are going to go with the Regent just because it's a little bit cheaper. And the Prestige and the Conquest, that should just be consolidated. Kind of like the John Deere X500 series of tractors. That Prestige, that should be the high end of that class, and the Conquest would be the lower end of that. I mean, you could get like a John Deere X500 that came through as a bare bones machine. No power steering, no power deck lift. Just a foot pedal lift and manual steering. Do that with the Conquest and the Prestige. Make that Prestige the top of the line for that class. And the Conquest is just like a Prestige Light or the minimum Prestige or something. Do something. Don't have all these extra models and all these extra names to confuse people, and you're only giving them one little extra option for each name change you make. Don't make no sense. Combine them up. Consolidate your lineup. Make it a little bit more appealing. Yeah, it might take a little bit for the dealers to get the hang of what they need to order and how to go about it, but still, you're going to come out ahead in the long run because it's going to make things simpler for the consumer to figure out which model they want based on the options and needs they have. Now again, I don't want you all to think that I'm just bad-mouthing Simplicity and just putting them down for the hell of it. I mean, come on. There are a lot of features I do like about them machines, these newer ones. Yeah, I'm used to the older ones. The older ones were a bit tougher and a bit more rugged, just like many of the other models and brands out there. But, with these new ones, I like that suspension. That's nice. It makes it a little easier on the back. Cross some rough ground, stuff like that. I like that on the Broadmoors and on the Prestige and the Conquest. They do ride a lot nicer. Honestly, I like that seat they got too, that mesh seat. You don't have to worry about ever getting a wet ass when you go to sit down on it. They do have some nice stuff. Hell, that clock on the dash of the Broadmoor, that's a nice feature. But when you come to this other stuff, I mean, they got that little bed, that little cargo bed on the back of the Couriers. Now, yeah, you look at the pictures and they're hauling some flowers in that and some other stuff, but that's got a pretty light weight rating on that because the thing's made out of plastic. It don't really give you a whole lot of room to do nothing. I mean, yeah, it is a little handy, but, at the same time, you could just sit whatever you wanted to down there between your feet on the floorboard and haul it. And yeah, that may look appealing to some people, but to me, the mechanic in me says, you're taking an air-cooled engine and you're putting something over top where the air goes. You're going to make this thing run a little bit hotter, and you've already got a pretty weak engine with that Briggs & Stratton that's only putting out a certain rated gross horsepower than actual horsepower it needs to do the job. So yeah, I don't think that's a good idea. It might have helped you sell a few more, but seriously, if you're sitting on the seat, I mean, to me, it looks to me that the air would come in basically from the front of that little cargo bed that you got on that Simplicity Courier. So in front of that bed is where the operator sits. So if the operator's sitting there, there's not going to be a whole lot of air moving through him. There's not going to be a whole lot of air being drawn straight down from the top because that cargo bed's there. there's not going to be a whole lot coming from the back neither. So you're blocking off a good portion of air that you would get to cool this engine. So really, you're going to ruin this engine prematurely just because of the heat factor. That is the #1 killer of all gas-powered, air-cooled engines, is heat. Everybody knows that, you know? And there you are, putting something in the way of getting this thing to cool down. You know, come up with something better to give the people. That suspension is a good idea on them zero turns and on them tractors. But at the same time, I seen these things sitting brand new at dealerships already with them chrome coil springs already rusting up. And you look at the ones that aren't rusting, and it looks like the plating job's not really all that good on them. They're already starting to pit before they even start rusting. How about just powder coat them all? Them powder coated ones, they don't look bad on there. You know, that's got to be a little bit more cost effective anyway. Well, I think this is a pretty good spot for old Scud to start winding this episode down. You know, again, don't take all this the wrong way. We're not hating on Simplicity. We're not hating on Briggs & Stratton. We just want to see some changes. We want to see Simplicity get back up there to being one of the top, 1 to 3 mower tractor companies out there in the outdoor power equipment industry. Get back to their heyday. Back when they were making some good stuff and people were buying it. You'd see plenty of them out there in the yard. Let's compete with that green stuff. Let's compete with that other orange stuff out there. Let's give the customer something more appealing at a better price. Let's add some better features than what you've been putting out. We don't want to see this go the way of Cub Cadet after it got sold to MTD, So we would love to hear from all you out there what you guys think regarding the Simplicities and Briggs & Stratton Corporation and the things that they have done with Simplicity since they took it over. So drop us an email. TDC Vlogcast at gmail.com is the email address to reach us. Just put, Simplicity in the subject or whatever else you want to comment about. Or you could always just leave some comments on this video or on this podcast link or wherever we put this shit up at. I'm new to this. This is my first show, but I plan on being the host of this vlogcast, podcast, video, speaking, whatever they want to call it, for a good while to come. But I'll see how that goes. But at any rate, let us know what you think, and we'll be talking to you soon. Thanks for listening.